Hi everybody, what's up? My name is Juan, I'm just one reader, and I'm here today to make another recent reads video. Today I will talk about books numbers 4, 5, and 6 that I have read so far in 2017. The first one being A Life in Parts. This is by Bryan Cranston, and he of course played Walter White on Breaking Bad. Now, prior to this last December, I had never heard of Breaking Bad. I had never watched a single scene of Breaking Bad. Someone recommended it to me in a very, very, very strong way, and I decided to start watching it, and soon enough, I became obsessed. I started living and breathing Breaking Bad. It became my everything. I realized, and I still think that Breaking Bad is the most literary experience that I have ever gotten from a TV show or a series. It was splendid. It was miraculously good. The writing was not just solid throughout the entire series, but it was superb. It was spectacular. The characters, the actors, man, every single part of that puzzle was perfect. Not just right, but perfect. It has to be one of the best shows, and for sure the best dramatic show that I have ever had the pleasure of enjoying. And obviously, I wanted to read this as soon as I saw it, and that's why I picked it up. I mean, look at this beautiful cover and back cover combination of Bryan Cranston opposite to Walter White. This is like the last season Walter White, and I just, man, love that cover and back cover. And that's why I picked it up. Although I am not one to usually read memoirs, I actually don't really read nonfiction at all. Sometimes I do, but I never read this type of more serious memoirs. There were bits and pieces of this book that I really enjoyed, particularly those that concerned Walter White and Breaking Bad, the making of the series, the portrayal of the character, and how he approached this magnificent role, and how he managed to convey the complexity of this character, which really makes this series as fantastic as it is. I really enjoyed the parts of this book that dealt with Breaking Bad and his acting career in general. However, a big chunk of this book deals with his personal life, his upbringing, his childhood, his family life, etc., etc., etc. And I was just not looking forward to reading that. I didn't really read everything in this book. I skipped some bits and pieces here and there because that was just not what I was interested in. So I gave this book 2.5 out of 5 just because the experience itself was not very rewarding, although the aspects, the parts that I enjoyed, I really liked. Then the next book that I read was The Miserable Meal. This is the fourth book in a series of unfortunate events by Lemony Snicket, aka Daniel Handler, and I liked it. There were some things that I really enjoyed. For example, the writing style, how he balances eloquence, wit, humor, and clever writing. And I also really enjoyed the Baudelaire orphans, how their characters are developed. However, this has to be the weakest book in the series so far, in my humble opinion. I just didn't enjoy it as much in terms of plot. I actually struggled to find the plot in this book. And there was this very, very strange, convoluted, and frankly ridiculous climax scene that I just thought was completely ridiculous and absurd, and I didn't really like it. I think this book is not as good as the other three, the first three books in the series, but I do think that it has redeeming qualities, like I said, the writing, the characters, and the setting, and the little quirks that Lemony Snicket, aka Daniel Handler, plants here and there, which make an altogether quite enjoyable experience, even if it has its flaws. So I gave it 3 stars, and I am looking forward to going to the next installment, The Austere Academy. And then finally, I read The Very Persistent Gappers of Fripp, which is this middle grade slash picture book by George Saunders. It comes with this transparent, translucent dust jacket, but if you remove it, I think the book is just much more beautiful. It's this naked hardback, which is so long and thin. I love it. It's a beautiful object. It is wonderfully illustrated by Lane Smith. This book is very George Saunders-y. It features very, very minimalistic writing, and you can really see the care that he puts into every single sentence, the work that is behind every single sentence. He manages to convey a lot in a very short space, in a very short amount of time. This story has a very fairy tale-esque plot. It is for children. It is technically middle grade, but you can definitely read it as an adult, just like I did, and I think you're going to enjoy it a lot. In usual George Saunders fashion, he tells a story that can seem very wacky and sometimes a little bit weird and wacky and, I said wacky twice, whimsical and absurd at places, but it feels very human because the themes that he is dealing with are extremely human, such as community, social commentary on community, on people, on life, loss. I think there's also some conversation here about depression and mental health. And I really enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars, and it was very, very odd but very interesting to read George Saunders in this genre for a much younger target audience that I'm used to. And yeah, it was very, very nice. And if you can get your hands on a copy, I strongly recommend that you do. I got mine from the Last Bookstore in Los Angeles, which is a very cool independent bookstore, a little bit like the Strand in New York. And my copy is in very, very good conditions, and I got it for about $3, $4, which is a freaking steal. And I know this book is not very easy to find, but if you can get at least read it on a Kindle or whatever. But yeah, I definitely recommend it. If you're looking for a middle grade that maybe you can recommend to a child, or if you yourself are looking for a middle grade that is not your typical middle grade, a middle grade book that sort of steps out of the usual middle grade comfort zone, something a little bit weirder and deeper, I think this is a great, great, great recommendation for that. So to sum up, I gave A Life in Parts 2.5 stars, The Miserable Meal 3 stars, and The Very Persistent Gappers of Fripp 4 stars. And obviously my personal favorite from this batch is this one. I strongly recommend it. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Juan. I'm just one reader, and I will see you next time.